Get your new windows this spring. Make the call. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or visit advancedwindowsusa.com.
We have emergency traffic now, brought to you by Dino Day. Celebrate on June 1st at all Sinclair locations. And here's Heather Kelly.
And this is for Utah County drivers. Northbound I-15 is pretty much at a stop for 4 miles through most of Lehigh. You'll see the brake lights just as you get on at 12th North in Lehigh, all the way up to the point of the mountain. It's due to a crash. It's now been moved over to the HOV lane and left shoulder, but just 10 minutes ago we had 2 left lanes completely blocked. Now they do have tow trucks on scene trying to get all the cars out of the way, but you're going to have a long slog of it, at least 20 to 30 extra minutes just to get out of Utah County. If you're in Parley's Canyon, all the delays have cleared out eastbound heading toward Mountain Dell Golf Course, but you still have a crash right at the East Canyon exit, still blocking the right shoulder. With IFA's spring and summer lawn food, you'll grow healthy turf that stays green all summer long. It's the ultimate lawn owner power move. It's IFA's spring and summer lawn food. It's the ultimate lawn owner power move. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Mostly sunny this morning, then clouds move in this afternoon with a chance of rain. Partly cloudy, a little bit cooler tomorrow. And right now, 77, partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
For decades, the feds have littered the airways with PSAs. A stern warning that marijuana will fry your brain and land you in a dark prison cell for a long time if they catch you.
Yeah.
Taylor Morgan in today for Dave Noriega. Taylor, frequently a host on KSL at night right here at KSL News Radio. And who can forget, Taylor, all of these PSAs that were pummeled at us?
What you do with your life is up to you. If you become a pothead, you risk blowing the most important time of your life.
Singer Sonny Bono, former President Ronald Reagan.
Marijuana could very well be one of the most dangerous threats to an entire generation of Americans of any drug that we know.
This was before my time. I have to be honest. I was very, very young in the 80s, born in 79. So I really don't remember a lot of this, Debbie, but certainly marijuana has always been a boogeyman, right? But really, this campaign that launched in earnest in the 60s, 70s, 80s, but I have to pump the brakes for just a moment and say, Sonny Bono? Do we not think Sonny Bono imbibed?
The reason we're talking about this today is because the feds are taking a major step towards making marijuana much more accessible. They've made this move to put it on the same schedule, essentially taking it out of the level of ecstasy and heroin, which has been scheduled at that level for decades. Ecstasy and heroin.
Yeah.
It's on the same plane as those two types of drugs. They're going to knock it down several steps, and they've made this move. It is a bold move for the feds to do this, because I think it's also an admission that the war on drugs, particularly on marijuana, has not worked. It's been ineffective. They're going to put it on the same playing field as Tylenol with codeine.
Or, listen, I am not a marijuana expert. I know that there are experts out there. We're going to talk to a legislator who knows a lot about this next segment, Debbie. But I don't know that marijuana should have been classified with those other very hard drugs on the same schedule in the first place. I think that may have been a mistake by the federal government. That may have been an overreaction that was driven by external factors, not just the drug itself.
So you think it's been a mistake all along?
Absolutely. In the decades, since that classification, we have a wealth of new information, of experiences, of new data that show that marijuana is a lot less harmful than, say, heroin, than opioids, that it can be very beneficial to those dealing with terminal illnesses, with PTSD, with other issues. Here in Utah, of course, Utah has a medical marijuana program that has been in place for several years. We are surrounded by states that have recreational marijuana use. I really do not believe that marijuana is the same kind of drug and deserves the same kind of classification as cocaine, as heroin.
Now, I know you're a lot younger than I am, and you just talked about that, and you don't remember all of these campaigns, but people who are my age remember this, and it was absolutely drilled into our brains that, drugs will fry like an egg, will fry your brain. In fact, President Clinton admitting that he smoked dope, but so afraid of inhaling it that he didn't.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.
So politicians were afraid to say they smoked dope when they were in college, and if they got caught by the press or by somebody else, who's like, "Yeah, I saw you smoke dope, man."
I didn't inhale.
They'd use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it, and didn't inhale, and never tried it again.
How do you know if you don't like it if you didn't inhale it, Bill?
They also used to, for many years, called marijuana the gateway drug. That would open up anybody who uses it. It would open them up to other drugs, more illicit drugs like ecstasy, hard drugs like heroin and cocaine. So if you use marijuana, you're going to step into this world of drug abuse, and you're going to go to prison for a really long, long time. And Taylor, for a lot of years, the feds and local police would go after people who were using marijuana and were dealing in marijuana, and they would end up serving really lengthy prison sentences.
Yeah.
And so now we're looking at as a country declassifying it from a category that put it at like the worst of the worst to knocking it down to being on the same level as like prescription Tylenol.
Yeah.
This was shocking to me.
Well, Debbie, can I listen? I made my point about the fact that I don't think marijuana is the same kind of drug as cocaine and heroin. So that being said, not to get too cynical, but perhaps is some of this motivated by wanting to tax marijuana?
100%.
Recreational.
Why is that cynical? I think that's the truth.
Recreational marijuana is becoming widespread. In fact, Utah is surrounded by 3 states that have recreational marijuana use legally. Yet we still, because of the federal laws with marijuana, we can't use the banking system, right? And we can't tax revenue federally. That has to be
They see
part
this
of
as a way to make money.
Well,
24
taxation.
states have legalized cannabis for adult recreational use. That's adult recreational use. That is just like, I feel like smoking marijuana today. I'm going to go buy me some and I'm going to use it. 38 states allow for medical use, including Utah.
Yeah.
Right. And we had to do that through a referendum, right?
An initiative.
An initiative back several years ago.
2018.
So voters made the decision to stick it on the ballot, right? They signed petitions, got it on the ballot. Lawmakers kind of had avoided putting it into law.
Yeah.
So voters decided that we'll take matters into our own hands. We'll get this on the ballot. They got it passed. I think there were some adjustments made by Capitol Hill, but it's been around for quite a number of years for medical use in Utah.
Yeah.
70% of Americans say they support the legalization of marijuana.
That's amazing.
I tell you, as almost 60 years old, I'm shocked by that because since I was a kid, I was like, you run. You don't touch the stuff. If you do marijuana, you're going to do hard time. We had presidents doing PSAs. It wasn't just former President Ronald Reagan. It was President Bush talking about, if we catch you doing drugs, who's sitting at the desk in the Oval Office, I remember this PSA, we are going to throw you in prison. You'll never see the light of day again. There has been such a reversal in how we look at this that it's happened in the last 10 years, because as of even 10 years ago, only 50% of Americans felt like marijuana should be legalized. Now we're teetering on almost 3/4 of Americans. Why the shift? What do you think happened? You think it is the fact that they're using it for medical use now?
I think
And
that
allowing
there
for
was
that?
so much fear in the beginning, or at least I should say 60s, 70s, 80s. And again, I wasn't alive for a good portion of that, so I'm not super familiar. But my understanding is that there was a lot of fear and a lot of unknowns.
But that's what the government went to. I mean, that's
And
what they went to with these PSAs.
They did.
We,
and I think
and we had 3 or maybe 4th with PBS stations to watch. And so you saw these PSAs all the time, Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, fear is a powerful tool. And I think it was an overreaction out of fear of the unknown and just the assumption that it's a drug and so it's bad. And so total overreaction. We have learned, listen, I'm okay with changing policy. And I'm okay with changing positions and changing laws when we learn more, when we have new and better information. We should change. And marijuana use, I mean, it's not something I choose to do. I know a lot of people who do, and none of them, Debbie, have turned to using harder drugs, right? So I'm not.
Who are you hanging out with?
Listen, these are. I'm not going to implicate anyone on Utah's Capitol Hill, okay? But I do know people that use it for medical use, that have cancer diagnosis, or that have epilepsy, or all kinds of things.
They get it through a prescription.
And they're
through the
prescribed by
doctor.
their
All
doctor.
legal. Yeah,
And
that makes sense.
It has had a really positive impact on their life. They don't have to take opioids, which are hugely problematic. So,
And it can be addictive.
I think we have learned that marijuana can be a better, safer choice in a lot of situations.
So when I look at what the feds are doing I want to say, dumb down marijuana, like in terms of like availability, I mean, it seems to me like it would be much more available. It would be easier to get.
It's easy. It's out there. It is easy to get. It's the black market.
Would you go to the pharmacy to get it? Would this just you go to pick up a prescription Tylenol with codeine that your doctor's prescribed? Is that how this is going to look? And I know there's just been a lot of friction with Utah's Capitol Hill when it comes to legalizing marijuana. So let's ask Senator Todd Weiler next. Would Utah accept this if the feds decided to put marijuana on the same scale, the same plane as Tylenol? Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
You've been trying to hold off, but you think it's time you might need a new roof? Best move you could make is to call the highest-rated roofing contractor in Utah. IWC Roofing has been working up there for 27 years. They offer the best warranty in the business, backed by Owens Corning. What's most amazing is they'll replace your entire roof in one day. Instead of Chuck with a truck showing up for a week of chaos and mayhem, you get professionals. IWC Roofing is in, they're out, and they power wash your driveway just to say thank you. They'll even send pictures from the roof so you know exactly what you're getting for your hard-earned money. Now, you think a highly skilled Owens Corning Platinum Certified contractor would charge more, but no. IWC offers a better price, and if you call now, they'll give you an extra $2,000 off your quote. $2,000 off. So call IWC Roofing for a free estimate, 801-232-5690, 232-5690, or visit IWCRoofingUtah.com.
Get the news.
Salt Lake City is looking to shake up the zoning of single-family homes.
And a deeper understanding of the news.
2 homes on what was 1 lot.
Feels like an afterthought, and I think it's going to feel crowded.
Tim and Amanda catch you up first thing in the morning. Then join Dave and Debbie and Boyd Matheson for conversation about the news middays. And Jeff Kaplan has the latest developments on your drive home. For news and talk, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Can I tell you the one question I have never been asked on my soda weight loss journey? No one has ever asked me if soda weight loss works. Why? Because the results don't lie. I let go of 37 pounds in 90 days. Real results. And now I'm 2.5 years into my journey, still 37 pounds down, and have never felt better. Real results. The question I do get asked is, how does soda weight loss work? It's in the name. SOTA stands for state-of-the-art weight loss because it is state-of-the-art. Based on science, soda only employs nutritionists and dietitians who love helping people reach their goals and keeping those healthy results for the rest of their life. No fads, no pills, no potions, just science, nutrition, and someone who will guide you every step of the way to a better you. When it comes to your soda weight loss journey, there's no time to lose, only time to win, so start winning today. Your healthy tomorrow begins today. Make the decision that will change every day for the rest of your life. State-of-the-art weight loss, SOTAweightloss.com.
Stop for a moment and think about this. Do you know how much money in your 401k or IRA is actually yours? Or will the government take a bigger chunk than you thought? Remember, you still might owe taxes on that money. But do you have a plan to help make sure you don't pay more than you should? At Capital Wealth Advisors, we believe you deserve to keep more of what you've earned, which is why we're here to help you navigate the confusing world of retirement taxes. It's your money. You deserve to know what's at stake. Right now, taxes are historically low, but they won't be this low forever. So call the Capital Wealth Advisors team today so you don't miss out on this opportunity. 801-210-5500. That's 801-210-5500. You work hard for your money, and we'll work just as hard to help you keep it. Capital Wealth Advisors, 801-210-5500. Advisory services offered through Capital Wealth Advisors, LLC, a state of Utah registered investment advisor. Firm may not give tax advice.
What's keeping you from learning the language you've always wanted to speak?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make learning fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. And in 10 minutes a day, Babbel's bite-sized lessons are designed to get you having real conversations in as little as 3 weeks.
That's not long.
It's not hard.
It's perfect.
It starts here. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
It's a mystery where Old Spice finds its amazing scents like Himalayan sea salt, but I'm thrilled they have because no other body wash exfoliates and moisturizes 24/7 like Old Spice Gentleman's Himalayan sea salt body wash. Now, if only there was a mountain range separating the Indian subcontinent from the Tibetan plateau where I could hide my Old Spice and keep my family from stealing it, my impossibly smooth skin will finally be safe.
Emergency traffic brought to you by Dino Day at all Sinclair locations. And the good news is the crash northbound I-15 at the point of the mountain cleared about 3 minutes ago. All lanes are now open. Unfortunately, the delays stretch back 4 miles to 12th North in Lehigh, and it's still mostly at a crawl that entire way. It's going to take you an extra 15, maybe 20 minutes to get over the point of the mountain into the Salt Lake Valley from Utah County. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the jury is deliberating in the case against former President Donald Trump in New York. Second, several small businesses in Sugar House say construction is keeping customers away. And third, an explosion destroyed a building in downtown Youngstown, Ohio. Several people injured, some still missing there. 77 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Sounds like to me the feds are finally admitting they've lost the war on drugs, at least when it comes to marijuana, because they've gone from public service announcements that absolutely littered our airwaves for decades.
This is drugs. This is your brain on drugs.
Your listeners that are my age, Taylor, are going to remember it's, that.
Was that an egg?
That's
frying
an
or
egg
something?
frying in a pan. And they would tell us, like, look, don't do drugs. You're going to fry your brain. And if you do dope, we're going to throw you in prison for decades. And in fact, that's what they did. They put people behind bars for marijuana possession. And sometimes they'd go away for a long time.
Yeah.
And now the feds come up with this new plan to schedule it, take it out of the category that it's in right now with heroin and ecstasy, and move it like way down to put it on the same playing field as like prescription Tylenol with codeine. I mean, there's a lot of people who served serious time for this, and now the feds are like, okay, we give up. We've lost the war on that. So, JK.
Well, or the feds maybe admitting that that war was not the right war to be fighting in the first place. Perhaps they're
took them a long time to figure that out.
Admitting that marijuana should have never been classified in that way in the first place.
Now, a lot of states, like Utah, have moved to make marijuana legal with a prescription from a doctor for medical use.
Yeah.
Not Utah, but several states have also made it legal for recreational use. So if you just feel like lighten up a whatever with your friends.
Can I sorry to interrupt you, Dave. I have to make a point. We've had medical marijuana statewide here in Utah for 6 years. I haven't heard of any problems. How have we heard? Have we had issues with that, with marijuana, with medical marijuana?
Senator Todd Weiler, good morning. Have you heard of any issues with medical marijuana?
I haven't heard of a lot, no. But again, it's still fairly restricted in Utah because you do have to have that doctor's note.
How do you think of the state legislature, Capitol Hill here, would react if the feds do, dumb down, as I say, medical or marijuana use in general by rescheduling it like on the same level as Tylenol with codeine?
I think that you'll hear a very quiet yawn because, as usual, the feds are about a decade or more behind on everything. And, the public opinion changed on this dramatically between about 2013 and 2015. And most people, are okay with marijuana, especially for medical use. And, and it's interesting if you go back 100 years how, we as a government, we kind of picked the opioids over, marijuana, and they're both dangerous. And I do want to emphasize, I remember talking to Senator Orrin Hatch about decriminalizing marijuana back in 2016, and he kind of blew me off. But this is something that should have been done, literally a decade ago. But I do want to emphasize that marijuana can be dangerous, especially with people at risk with schizophrenia and other mental disorders, especially for teens. People say it's not addictive. It absolutely can be addictive, especially for younger people when their brains are still developing. And marijuana does have some severe side effects. So people act like it's a nothing burger, and it's not a nothing burger. But, opioids are dangerous as well, and opioids also ruin people's lives.
Senator, how does Utah currently, when I'm talking tax revenue here, right, to the state, how does Utah essentially bring in revenue from the medical marijuana program, and how could changes on the federal level have an impact on that?
I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but I mean, I think Utah, just like alcohol, I think we are collecting a tax on a sin tax, if you will, on marijuana. I don't know how large it is. I would expect that it's in millions of dollars a year, and I don't know that the feds changing that is going to make a big difference. I haven't seen any analysis of that, but I will say that especially for like police officers and firefighters and other people, you can get caught in this trap where it's legal in Utah if you have a prescription, but it's still banned federally. And so employers can still say, well, we're relying on the federal law. And we've had some issues with that in this state. And so I do think that the decriminalizing it, I know I'm using that term broadly, on the federal level will help some employees.
So that they won't, if they get asked to do a drug test or commanded to do a drug test and they're caught with marijuana in their system, what you're saying is that it would make it more clear that they weren't in violation of any laws?
Yeah, we still have employers, especially firefighters and police agencies, who are firing people and putting them on probation, even though they have a medical marijuana card, because they're saying, "Hey, it's still illegal federally, and we're following the federal law." So,
Senator White, go ahead.
It does it puts people in a catch-22.
Yeah, I can see that. Senator Weiler, if they do declassify it, like we've been talking about, and make it like when I think about Tylenol with codeine, I go to the pharmacy and I pick up my prescription that's been called in by my doctor. If the feds declassify marijuana and put it on that same level, do you see that it would be available at a pharmacy for recreational use, or is this just for medical use here? What do you think?
That's a bridge that we still have to cross. This infrastructure that we put in 6 years ago, as Taylor acknowledged, and other states have done, it's mostly a cash-based system or a debit card-based system, because there's all of these federal laws that would impact banks if they accepted this money. We kind of had to stand on our head and close one eye make this work. And we have these dispensaries. I know we have one here by the Costco in Bountiful, West Bountiful, near where I live. And I think that they've done very well. So it might make it easier for the consumer. And a lot of this, by the way, medical marijuana is actually delivered. It's like Uber Eats or whatnot,
really?
But it's straight from the dispensary. Yeah, I think the last I heard, like 2/3 of it was being delivered to people's homes.
Wow.
It's not through Uber Eats. It's from the dispensary itself.
Yeah,
But a lot of people, they just order it from home and then it shows up. Not quite as convenient as Amazon Prime, but more like Amazon Prime than anything else.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Senator, quickly, we don't have a lot of time. Is there any appetite in the Utah legislature to consider recreational use? We're surrounded by 3 states, Nevada, Colorado, Arizona, that have full recreational use. I imagine many Utahns are driving to one of those states to get marijuana. Is there any movement on Capitol Hill to perhaps go recreational?
I don't think so. I think that's kind of part of the Utah culture and whatnot. But let's be honest. I mean, anybody can go to a doctor now and say, I've been experiencing pain for a few weeks and get a medical marijuana card. And so I think it's borderline. I mean, do you know anyone, Taylor, who hasn't had experienced pain? I mean, I had surgery last week, so I've been in a lot of pain. But, I mean, almost anyone can qualify for medical marijuana these days. It's just, whether you want to bite that bullet. And there is some cost involved. There's also cost involved in driving to Colorado or another state, to get recreational marijuana. And there's the illegality of carrying that over the state, lines. But I do think police are very unlikely to prosecute marijuana even today before the federal law change in Utah because the way the law was written, if you get caught with marijuana, you can go into court and say, well, now I have a medical marijuana card, and basically the charges will be dropped.
Yeah.
State Senator Todd Weiler, get well from your surgery. Wishing you the best, of course. Thanks so much for joining us with your take.
Thank you.
If you miss this discussion, you want to catch it later, we podcast all of our show on your favorite podcast platform.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story, or top national story this hour. The jury now deliberating 34 counts of falsifying business records against former President Donald Trump. The judge has told everyone there not to leave the courthouse, but ABC's John Santucci says that'd be hard under the circumstances.
Security getting in and out of there is like Fort Knox. So to think that anybody is able to leave in these proceedings is just not possible. And I think for Donald Trump, that's where he's going to get frustrated, right? I mean, and we know that when he gets frustrated and angry, we're going to be watching Truth Social.
The former president is accused of hiding payments to keep stories about a possible affair out of the news. Salt Lake City police now have a man in custody accused of shooting and killing another man in an industrial part of the city's Glendale neighborhood yesterday. 59-year-old David Chase called 911 to report that he had shot 42-year-old Thomas Priest. Priest died at the scene, and police say Chase and Priest may have been in an argument before the shooting. The investigation's still ongoing. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now. 345 points, while the NASDAQ is down about 58. And our KSL weather looks like we'll have sunshine in the morning, clouding up this afternoon. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
It's Dino Day at all Sinclair locations Saturday, June 1st. Fuel up, saving up to 30 cents per gallon on Sinclair's top-tier premium-grade fuel using Dino Pay. Come early and grab some Dino swag. Remember, Saturday, June 1st at all Sinclair locations.
Love the filler moments at a Sinclair gas station near you with Dino Care, our top-tier gasoline for a cleaner engine. Some sweet and salty snacks for the commute, and a big green Dino for the memories. Find a gas station near you at sinclairoil.com.
Discover the best of senior living at Trio Orem and Trio South Ogden. Today's older adults aren't wrapping up their life's journey, they're seeking a new one. And Trio Independent Living is here to help them do just that. With a smart, modern, and connected lifestyle, residents cultivate relationships and maximize independence through signature programs like Prime Fit Wellness that bring living well and well-being to life. Welcome to the new age of senior living. Schedule your visit at leisurecare.com/Utah today.
Advertising used to be simple. Your options were radio, TV, newspaper, and let's not forget the yellow pages. Now it seems like a tidal wave of options. Podcast, cable TV, streaming, OTT, CTV, audio networks, smart speakers. On top of that, you need digital marketing for your website along with SEM, SEO, display, video, YouTube, email, and all the social media platforms. Look, you're the expert in your business. Wouldn't it be nice to have an expert to market you? We are Bonneville Salt Lake, the local marketing and media company you know and trust. We reach customers across all digital and social platforms and have the reach of traditional advertising available as well. We find your customer anytime, any place, anywhere on any device here in Utah or anywhere in the world. We work to optimize your results with our in-house local team of experts, providing you with qualified leads, not just impressions. Contact Stephanie Palmer at KSL for a free consultation, including a complete digital audit with no obligation or cost to you. Email spalmer@ksl.com. That's spalmer@ksl.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Dino Day. Celebrate on June 1st at all Sinclair locations. And here's Heather Kelly.
Well, traffic's still pretty slow northbound I-15 in Utah County through portion of Lehigh. This is just after 2100 north to about the Timpanogos Highway area. It's due to an earlier crash at the point of the mountain. It had blocked several lanes of traffic. It's now gone. All the lanes of travel are open, but you have these residual delays that are taking a little bit of time to clear out. The rest of your drive across the Wasatch Front looks good on I-15 in Salt Lake Valley, the east and west side belt routes, and the 201 freeway. Box Elder County has gone to the birds. Spring migration is here at Bear River Migratory Bird Refuge. See what visitors are chirping about with Box Elder County. For info, activities, and more, visit boxeldercounty.com. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Mostly sunny this morning. Clouds move in this afternoon with a chance of rain. Partly cloudy, a little bit cooler tomorrow. And right now, 78 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Priced Out, Housing, Special Coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
If you heard me on Utah's Morning News this morning, thanks so much for making sure you're with us right now to talk about taking money out of your home, because most Utahns, Taylor, have about over $250,000 in equity right now. So basically, skimming equity out of your home to make repairs to your home or to remodel your home. We're going to explore whether that's a good idea or not.
Yeah.
So we're going to walk through what Bankrate is saying about that. And then in about 10 minutes, we'll have an expert live on the line with us to talk about the ups and downs of a home equity line of credit.
Yeah, everyone is in a very different position. For those of us who are fortunate enough to afford to own a home, right? That isn't everyone, of course, especially today. I'll give an example, my personal story. My wife and I were very lucky. We hit the timing just right. We bought the home we live in. We bought it brand new, Debbie, as a foreclosure. The bank had foreclosed on the builder after it was built, brand new, not lived in. But we bought it from the bank that foreclosed on the builder, for ourselves.
Sure.
And we got a 1.9% interest rate, Debbie, back in 2008, and we have a ton of equity. So we remodeled our home a few years ago, and we paid for the remodel in cash, but we since opened up a HELOC just to have
extra
if we needed it,
just in case.
Yeah, just in case. And it is actually given us a lot of peace of mind to have that should we need it.
So what I'm hearing is Taylor Morgan is flush with money. He's rich.
I'm not. I have equity.
Look, I'm looking at this story that Bankrate put out, Taylor, and there's this guy they focus on. His name's Jim. And Jim he bought himself a big old home, and he has 2 heating and air conditioning systems in the home.
Okay.
So if you buy a big home, you likely have 2 of everything. You might
doesn't have to be that big.
2 watering.
My home is only 3,500 square feet, and
that sounds big.
I have 2 air conditioners.
How many rooms?
I have
17?
4 bedrooms.
Okay, that's a big
Come on,
home.
Debbie. Come on.
No, with 2 air conditioning units, $42,000.
That's crazy.
So the bigger the home, the more stuff you need. And the more things you need to get repaired. So it was a $42,000 tab for 2 new units, and he also needed new duct work, which is such a bummer, right?
I think Jim needs to get a second and third bid. That sounds a little
well, he needs
expensive.
a retiree.
Okay.
So the question for him is, does he put it on a credit card?
No.
$42,000.
No.
It's a 20 or 21% interest. But the bonus for him is that I think the company offered 0% interest for a year in a financing package. So he went with that.
Oh, boy.
But then the no interest period runs out.
Of course it does.
These get tricky because if you don't pay them off during the time period that you're given, 6 months or a year,
that
the interest
is retroactive. That is brutal.
Yeah.
You're never paying it off then.
So it's retroactive at the rate, whatever the rate is. Maybe it's a 20 or 30% rate.
Yeah.
And you owe that interest if you haven't paid it all off by the time the deadline arrives.
Yeah.
You get stuck with that. That happened to me one time, and it was with a boom box I bought.
A boom? What is it, 1982, Debbie? A boom box?
I put a boom box on credit.
When? What year was this?
It had to be like 93
Was this on a Radio Shack credit card?
It was another. Thank goodness the company went out of business. That's how mad I was.
How much was hold on, Debbie.
It's like a $300.
How much was this boom box?
Like $300. I don't know. It was stupid.
Wow.
It was a dumb move.
Did you carry it on your shoulder?
Let me tell you, but a $42,000 HVAC system, I'd miss the payment by like one day. And they're like, oh, we got her. So 60% of homeowners say they've taken out a credit card to cover these kinds of expenses. Oh, my goodness. I think that's the worst plan.
Yeah, I agree. This is, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but when it is something that is necessary for the home. I mean, we're talking about heating and air conditioning. This is integral.
Is that necessary?
Absolutely, Debbie.
Okay.
Absolutely. This is integral to the home, and it is a necessary repair. This is the kind of thing where it totally makes sense to use home equity to cover.
I would literally sweat it out.
And with a home equity line of credit, you might be able to get a 0% rate for a while. If not, you're looking at probably 10% or less.
So what he ended up doing on his $42,000, whatever you put on the credit card, he ended up taking out a home equity line of credit and then paying off the financing package that he got through the company with that home equity line of credit. But in order to make home repairs, so 60% take out a credit card, 33% who were asked said they've taken out personal loans. So you go to the bank and you take out a personal loan. Those are usually at a higher interest rate than a HELOC. And then 25% have taken out second mortgages to pay for these repairs. And these repairs are pricey. I mean, roof replacement, about $9,500 to $10,000. I think that's a low estimate. HVAC installation or replacement can be $7,000. I don't know what's wrong with Jim's house, but he needed all the duct work redone too.
Yeah.
I'd get a second and third and fifth and 10th opinion on that, by the way, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Foundation repair. Oh, that's a doozy.
Yeah.
That's $5,000. No way. I think there's a lot more. Termite treatment, $2,500. I don't know if they still have to tent your entire home for that, but that seems like that would be more than $2,500. Have you ever seen a termite treatment?
Yeah, back.
I mean, it's a thing.
When I was living in Washington D.C.,
What does it look
Virginia. Yeah, the whole house is covered in a giant plastic bag.
Looks like aliens have landed, and they're trying to contain them.
Like the E.T. house with the tubes and everything.
So here's what they have. A common unexpected cost of home ownership. Water heater installation or replacement, $1,300 is what they've rated that. No, it's not. I just had a bid on that. I had 2 bids, $7,000.
For water heater replacement?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Debbie. That's high.
$7,000.
I just replaced my water heater a couple years ago.
How much?
$3,000, and that also included installing a soft water system.
Do you think they said that to me because I'm a woman?
Possibly.
You can say yeah. I did.
Were you nice to them, Debbie?
Well, I let them in my home.
Okay,
but
fair.
I didn't do that. What it turns out, I didn't need a new water heater.
Yeah. What was going on then? What?
They just needed a little. I got somebody else in there that did the job right, and they said was, oh, it just needs a little, I don't know. They scraped a little igniter thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then it was igniting
it was
again.
A minor repair then. Yeah.
And they inspected the entire water heater. It was like $125.
Nice. That's a win. Definitely.
Yeah. So water heaters are a lot more than that. They're $3,000 to $7,000. I don't know. Mine's a Cadillac version. Yours probably is not. No, I don't. I think that I did not agree with that bid price.
Yeah.
But I also get concerned about scraping equity out of your home.
Yeah.
To pay for these things. What do you think about that?
Well, it really depends on the homeowner situation. I think if it's a catastrophic repair, if it's something significant, then I think it can be justified. I would never, ever put something big on a credit card, something like that, because there's always a better option. Personal loan doesn't make sense either, because you're going to pay a higher rate when it's not secured and backed by your home's title, right?
So I think there's a lot we don't understand about home equity lines of credit. It's like, how much is that interest rate? Is it interest rate fixed or is it variable?
Right.
What are the different? Do we shop the rates?
Yeah.
So some people are getting 5% rates, and other people are getting the average rate, which is right around 9% right now. When is it due? When do you have to pay it off by?
Yeah.
Is it a 30-year loan like what you get with your mortgage, or do you have to pay it off in 5, or is it interest retroactive?
Right.
There's so much to understand before you just run to the bank and open up a HELOC to start paying for repairs. Yes, I can see, but a lot of people use them for remodel projects.
Yeah. Well, and that's difficult because I think a lot of people rationalize that if they remodel their home, that will only increase their equity. So then they're essentially maybe not spending that money. It's complicated, Debbie. I think the key is that we ask all the questions that you asked are the questions we need to be asking anytime we consider taking out an equity line of credit.
So every week on Wednesdays, we talk about real estate related issues, thanks to our friends at the Stern team who make sure they support our discussions about real estate. So learn your home's true value in 30 seconds. Visit sternteam.com to find out more. And straight ahead, let's get an expert on the line. Next, what are the pitfalls, the ups and downs to taking out a home equity line of credit? Next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
With interest rates coming back down, I bet the real estate market will pick back up in 2024. We're already seeing that, Tim.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really matter how the market is doing when you have the right team. So if you're looking to sell your house, now you want to downsize or you need more space, you need the Stern team.
The Stern team has taught us, I can think of a handful of things that I would worry about if I was buying or selling, but there are 100 details that are involved in selling a home, and they have lots of people that are handling every detail so nothing falls through the cracks.
And they have so many different options. I mean, I worked with Cammie there at the Stern team, and she was awesome. But if you need an instant cash offer, you can do that. If you need to buy before you sell, you can do that. They have flexible fees.
They also have people that they represent that are looking to buy a home, so maybe they can make that perfect connection within the Stern team.
So don't put off selling your house or buying a house because you think the market isn't just right. The market is right with the Stern team.
Go online to sternteam.com or just Google the Stern team.
Hi, Doug Wright here with one more little experiment you can do at home. In a pan of water, all you have to do is stir in limestone, calcium, magnesium particles, and then heat that whole mess up on the stove. And you know what, on second thought, not such a good idea, because limestone, calcium, and magnesium particles heated in water will clump and stick to your pan like concrete, which incidentally is exactly what's going on inside your water heater. Think about it, limestone, calcium, magnesium, that's what makes hard water hard. And trust me on this, if you live in northern Utah, your home has hard water. So call Connecticut of Utah. I'll give you the number in a moment. They'll test your water's hardness for free, and they'll show you the patented design features that make Connecticut water softeners work better than any other. Connecticut of Utah, an authorized Connecticut dealer. To learn more, call Connecticut. It's 801-576-8600 or log on to softwaterutah.com and call now while it's on your mind.
911, what's your emergency?
Someone on the other line said they kidnapped my son.
On September 12, 1995, McKay Everett disappeared from his home in Conroe, Texas.
There was no sign of forced entry. It was just as if McKay had walked out of his own free will.
And to this day, McKay's mother, Paulette, feels that justice was never truly served. Ransom is available now. Listen at ransompodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card. Download the free Upside app now and use promo code GIFT for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back on your first fill-up. That's promo code GIFT.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, summer is our season. And we're kicking it off with a free 12-ounce Island Punch smoothie for National Flip Flop Day. Grab your flip-flops and head to your local cafe on May 29th from 2 to 7 p.m. Terms and conditions apply.
Put your phone on D&D. That means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D. That means do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the jury in former President Trump's hush money trial is now deliberating. Second, Salt Lake City police say the suspect in a fatal shooting called 911 himself. And third, giant pandas will be coming back to the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. 78 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Always love the help of our friends at the Stern team to support our discussions about real estate.
Priced Out, housing, special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
And the tough choices that we have to make when it comes to repairs and remodeling. Taylor Morgan in today for Dave Noriega. And we're talking about whether it's worth it, what the pros and cons are of taking out a home equity line of credit, just scraping equity out of your home to make repairs.
Yeah. I think when they are significant repairs, necessary repairs, and they're more than a few $1,000. I mean, look, we should all have money in savings for just these reasons, right? However, I realize that, you know, with inflation being where it is, with housing affordability, we may not all have cash laying around to pay for necessary home repairs, especially, you know, big ticket repairs. You know, if you have equity in your home, I think, and if you absolutely have to go into debt, Debbie, in order to pay for those repairs, I think that is when it could be justified and when it could make sense to do a home equity line of credit, because that's probably the best rate you can get. Better than a credit card, better than a personal loan.
Mark Hamrick, Bankrate's chief economic analyst, caught the story that you guys posted this week. It says about 1 in 5 homeowners say they've taken on debt for maintenance and surprise costs. I mean, that's kind of the downside of home owning, is you got these surprise costs. So talk to us about like a home equity line of credit and the pros and cons.
Well, can I wait before I get to
Sure.
that part of the sales job? Because what I would like to say is that we very often are focused in a high interest rate environment on the downside of borrowing rates, and that's understandable. The average credit card rate for a well-qualified new user is about 20 2/3%, much higher for those who have less superior credit scores or less admirable track records in paying their bills. But the upside of a high interest rate environment is the superior return on savings, yields in money market accounts, high yield savings accounts at 4 and 5%. And while you're right, our headline on this does talk about the issue of hidden costs. The reality is that these are not a secret. You know, very often people talk about homeownership being part of the American dream, and our survey did affirm that. And Americans still consider it part of the American dream. But it's a little like going into the forest without a map or a GPS. The reality is we know that these repair costs, the maintenance costs, eventually renovation are going to occur. So I would much rather have people focus on savings, emergency savings, rainy day fund, any variation on those themes, rather than taking a liability out of replacing an asset with a liability, which is to tap the equity in your home. Yes, if you want to do that, those products are out there, and as you said, they're better options. They are better options than credit card debt. Another option would be a cash-out refinancing if people want to look into that. But I think the main takeaways from this survey are along the lines of, don't go into home ownership with blinders on, because this is the inevitable part of home ownership, and that's just having repairs, maintenance, and renovation.
Yeah, definitely, Mark. I think, what do you recommend homeowners based on the price of the home, based on potential repairs? How can we calibrate what we should be putting away in savings potentially to be prepared for repairs?
Well, there are all kind of recommendations out there. What I would say is that inevitably it's unlikely that people have enough. Yeah. And so, there are some tools within the story that we wrote about this to say, well, just look at how much some of these basic home repair costs are. The replacement of a roof easily can run $10,000 to $20,000, and that's just one thing. Walk into any of your favorite stores and see how much the appliances are running when you have to replace those or when you opt to replace them. And then there are the things that are in between, such as calling the plumber, calling the electrician. But what I would say is that we're in a country where our data has been very consistent over the years, where only 43% of Americans can pay an emergency expense of $1,000 or more from savings. Federal Reserve had its survey of household finances out in the last couple of weeks, where they said, the percentage was in the low double digits of the number of people who could not pay an expense of $400 or more, right? So what I would say is that I have yet to meet anyone who said they saved too much money. And if you get to that position, then you can consider splurging or put it to another purpose, taking a vacation or whatever. But I would just say saving more is better, and not saving at all is really not a good option at all.
Mark Hamrick, Bankrate's chief economic analyst, live on the line with us as we explore the options of how to finance home repairs. What is one of the biggest pitfalls that you see to taking out equity from one's home in order to finance, an HVAC system that you need or a new roof, Mark?
Yeah, well, if you're using a loan product of some kind, it is, very often people turn to those products because they feel like they are straining to meet their current needs financially to begin with. So obviously you're not going into higher cost debt to use that. But in the current environment, many of these products, whether it's a personal loan or the kinds of products that you just mentioned, the average is on the order of 7 to 9% on an annual rate. That is high because we're in a high interest rate environment. So, you are taking on more debt, and if you run into trouble down the road, that is going to only create, another problem that you need to solve. So this is why savings is just such the better solution.
Mark Hamrick, Bankrate, thanks so much for jumping on the line live with us. I appreciate you spending some time with us, walking us through some of the downsides or the potential pitfalls of a HELOC. I'm going to turn now to a list, Taylor, from Market Watch. There is the risk when you take out a HELOC, you could lose your home if you cannot make the payments. If you took out a $50,000 loan on about a 9% rate, a HELOC, if you took out $50,000 out of your home equity line of credit, that's about $400 extra a month on top of your mortgage payment.
Yeah.
So you got to be ready for that, and you got to keep up with that. It's not like a credit card where you put something on a credit card and you don't pay it and you just end up in debt collection. You're actually putting your home on the line with that. That's a huge risk. You also may have some closing costs and some fees associated with the HELOC, so you got to take that into consideration. And also, a lot of these are variable interest rates. So if you don't lock in at a lower interest rate and you just leave it at a variable rate, I mean, that kind of ebbs and flows with where interest rates are at.
Yeah.
So your payment could go up the more the interest rate goes up. So I think those are some of the pitfalls we need to consider. For a lot of people, though, a HELOC is it's peace of mind.
Right.
That they've got $50,000 there or $100,000 that they can dip into in case of an emergency.
That's exactly right. And that's, I have a HELOC, and we really shopped around before we did that.
Did you get a good rate?
We got a great rate. We got a 0% interest rate for 6 months. And then we had a low interest rate that is now locked in permanently. We chose to go with a credit union here in Utah, a local credit union. There were other great competitive rates by other banks and credit unions. There are a lot of options out there, Debbie, and I'm not trying to sell this product. I'm just trying to say that in the right circumstance,
got to know what you're getting into.
Yes, exactly.
You always have to know what you're getting into with these. So, thanks again to Bankrate. Also, the Stern team. Stern team does a great job supporting us when we're talking about real estate issues, and there's always plenty to talk about because everybody is interested in the housing market these days. Straight ahead, the jury now deliberating in former President Trump's trial. So we'll bring you up to speed on what's going on in the 11 o'clock hour.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. The jury in Chad Daybell's trial will likely begin deliberations today, looking at 6 charges ranging from murder to insurance fraud. Daybell is accused of murdering 2 of Lori Vallow Daybell's children and his late wife Tammy. The jurors will also consider whether he's guilty of helping Vallow Daybell steal Social Security and child support checks.
Mother Teresa could not beat those charges, but we'll see. We'll see how we do.
That's former President Trump saying even a saint would have trouble with the charges that he's facing as the jury deliberates in his hush money case. The jury has to reach a decision on 34 counts of falsifying business records. The judge has told Trump and others in the court not to leave the building while the jury deliberates. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day 345 points right now, while the NASDAQ is down 35. And our KSL weather. We've got sunshine this morning, but clouds will move in this afternoon. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
My name is J.R. Bird. As mayor of Roosevelt, I increased transparency, led the charge to pass term limits, and kept taxes low. As your congressman, I will leverage my experience in the energy sector to champion energy independence and dominance. I'm determined to defend the unborn, secure our borders, uphold our Second Amendment rights, and bring the same level of transparency that we've upheld locally. I hope to earn your support.
Paid for by Bird for Congress.
When the weather warms up, it's like a stampede, except instead of dust stirred up by hundreds of hooves, it's a cascade of phone calls to Advanced Window Products. This is Jeff Kaplan. Soon as the sun shines and the snow's gone, people want new windows and frames from Utah's #1 custom window maker, and the wait for installation grows longer. But right now, you can get near the front of the line by calling for a quote and get $2,500 off when you purchase 10 windows or more. That's on top of the incredible savings for the highest quality double-pane windows and frames, any style, any color. See, at Advanced Window Products, they actually build the windows here in Utah, they install the windows, and they guarantee them for life. There's no middleman, and they can pass the savings on to you. They even offer buy now, pay later. So get in before the wait grows longer and get the $2,500 off. Get your new windows this spring. Make the call. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. Or visit AdvancedWindowsUSA.com.
Jeff Kaplan. When you're online, that's sometimes a source of fourth-hand information. Somebody does the reporting. Another website Googles, they find it, they rewrite it. And by the time you read it, you know the old game telephone
phone? But KSL is the source of primary information. We have reporters on the street. They're out in the field finding out the details. And the difference between online and KSL News Radio, night and day.
Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News, 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Dino Day. Celebrate on June 1st at all Sinclair locations. Here's Ricky Meese.
We've had some heavy and slow traffic on northbound I-15 going from Bluffdale up to Bangerter Highway, and again between the South Interchange and 33rd South. No accidents reported. Not sure what's going on. A crash is called out in Murray at State Street and 5900 South. Also for Utah County drivers, we do have a crash that has closed SR 77 in both directions at about 2000 West in the Palmyra area. With IFA's spring and summer lawn food, you'll grow healthy turf that stays green all summer long. It's the ultimate lawn owner power move. IFA's spring and summer lawn food, the ultimate lawn owner power move. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Mostly sunny this morning, then clouds move in this afternoon with a chance of rain. Partly cloudy, a little bit cooler tomorrow. And right now, we're at 77 degrees. It's partly cloudy. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Look, the jury finally has the case in New York. If you're losing track of all of former President Donald Trump's cases, this is the one where he's accused of trying to cover up a trail of hush money payments that went to former porn star Stormy Daniels. And keep her quiet before the 2016 election so he didn't look bad to the rest of the nation. And as the case was being handed over to the jury, former President Donald Trump was standing outside the courtroom this morning talking about how this is a super unfair situation for him.
But I just want to say it's a very unfair trial. It should have never happened. If it was going to happen, it should have happened 7 years ago. As you know, Bragg didn't want to bring it. The Southern District didn't bring it.
Yeah. Listen, I am not saying I agree with Donald Trump, but he's making the case that this is a political witch hunt, that it's all about the timing here. And regardless of the outcome, Debbie, it has been all Trump all the time by all media outlets. We're looking here at the screens in the KSL studio, and we have News Nation, we have CNN, we have Fox. All of them are all Trump, just waiting for the jury to say anything here.
So Fox is on what they call verdict watch. And then CNN. Can we dip into CNN for a moment, guys? They've got
He would want to deal with that quickly, so they would need to come back in quickly. So all the parties are here.
They have, on the left side of the screen, put up a countdown clock or count up clock based on how long the jury has been deliberating. 1 hour and 38 minutes so far. And then News Nation, do we have them? Can we dip into News Nation, Don?
Rather than the Biden accomplishments, and in their own words, they say that they're going to try to point to chaos and unhinged theories, unhinged campaign promises that Donald Trump is making in this new phase. And we sort of saw it yesterday.
News Nation throwing up or silhouetted, shadowy looking mugshot looking images of the jurors. It was so bizarre. It was something you would see, like, instead of a mugshot, you would see just this silhouetted profile of a human being talking about the breakdown of the jury pool, which is I don't even know now. Does it matter?
No. And here we have De Niro now being featured by News Nation. News Nation talking about how the Biden team is planning now to send more surrogates to the courthouse. We are all mapping to Donald. Donald is playing us all like a fiddle, just like in 2016, Debbie. Here we go again.
80-year-old actor Robert De Niro being sent on behalf of Team Biden's re-election campaign to the courthouse yesterday. He walks through a crowd of supporters for the former president.
He got magged, like Donald said. He got magged. It's a new verb.
And here's what went down when Robert De Niro shows up at the courthouse.
You're not going to intimidate. That's what Trump does, to try to intimidate. We have to fight back. We're trying to do it all. We're trying to be gentlemen in this world, the Democrats. You are gangsters. You are gangsters.
Robert De Niro is not washed up, Debbie. I just have to say, I have to come to his defense. He's not necessarily my favorite actor, but he's not washed up. Have a little respect for Robert De Niro there, sir.
Well, former President Trump addressed his appearance yesterday on behalf of Team Biden.
And then they have a protest of Robert De Niro yesterday as a fool. He's a broken down fool standing out there, and he got magged. He got magged yesterday. He got a big dose of it.
And what we have is a circus going on.
Absolutely. And look, we're all covering it. The press is there. Donald Trump is getting all of the attention and all of the coverage. None of us can look away. And this is a huge and very valuable campaign platform for Donald Trump. If Donald Trump was not facing these criminal charges, if he wasn't on trial in New York City or elsewhere, he would not be getting this kind of media coverage for his campaign.
The jury time clock says it's now been deliberating for 1 hour and 40 minutes on these 34 counts. So let's talk about what's at stake here. And this boils down to, while it's salacious at every turn in many ways, it's a white-collar crime case. And that's what it is. It's whether there was a paper trail of cover-ups regarding payments to former or porn star Stormy Daniels, who took the witness stand, and whether Donald Trump initially jilted his former attorney, the fixer, Michael Cohen, by not paying him back for the $130,000 home equity line of credit that he had to take out.
What do you think Bankrate, what would they say about that HELOC choice,
Yeah,
Debbie?
so Cohen's basically goes and takes out this home equity line of credit.
To pay off the porn star.
To pay off, through a series of payments.
Make sure you get a good interest rate on that
and
one.
then has to collect the money from former President Trump.
He also stole money from Trump.
Which came out during testimony during the Trump trial. Now, the prosecutors put on more than just Michael Cohen as one of their witnesses. Yeah. They put on 19 other witnesses, including, the head of National Enquirer. They put on Stormy Daniels.
Yeah, a lot of reputable people there.
Well, they put on a Trump loyalist, Hope Hicks, as well. So there's a slew of witnesses who did take the stand over the last couple of weeks. And Trump faces a crazy amount of time in prison if he's convicted by the jury and if the judge decides to throw the book at him. So we asked KSL legal analyst earlier during this show his thoughts on this case.
The state put on a very good case, and for any other criminal defendant, I would say that they would almost assuredly get a conviction. But this is an unusual defendant, and there may be some juror in there who just wouldn't convict Donald Trump with anything, even under the face of overwhelming evidence. And if one holds out, they don't get a conviction. So, and then the judge would declare a mistrial. We would start over.
That is really the question, Debbie. I think that is the fact that just one of the 12 jurors in this case could be a holdout, right? And of course, those jurors were screened, right? That process
by both sides
took a lot of effort, a lot of time. Both sides had a chance to screen those jurors for any kind of bias. However, if only one refuses to convict, then Donald Trump is essentially acquitted by means of a mistrial.
Yeah, and that's how the system works. And I've seen it happen when I've covered trials, that there could just be one juror in that jury room who's like, there's absolutely no way that I will vote in favor of a conviction. And they'll go around the room and they'll take vote after vote. And then sometimes they'll ask the judge for clarifying, they'll ask him a clarifying question. They'll look at the evidence over and over again. Now, they've got 34 counts to consider. And I have seen cases where you largely think going in, wow, the prosecution has done a phenomenal job. I've sat through entire trials. I thought, wow, the prosecution really did a good job putting on the evidence that they had. The issue with white-collar crime cases, from my perspective, is they can get very complex and very confusing for a jury. They just do. It's hard for jurors to see the dots connected. I've seen entire cases end on either a hung jury or the defendant gets acquitted on all counts because it's just, at the end of the day, following the money, it gets really, really confusing for a jury or the prosecution. Took for granted that the jury would they just see the connection, right? They'll just see the connection, and they don't see the connection.
Yeah.
So I'm not convinced after following this trial fairly closely. Again, there's been no audio or video from the actual courtroom because that is not allowed.
Right.
So you have to rely on somebody that's watching the trial from, news reports and, other stories and things that people are saying, outside the courtroom to, stay in touch with trials like this. I do not feel as though they are going to acquit him on all counts. I don't think they're going to convict him on all counts. I don't feel that the judge will throw the book at him.
Yeah.
Greg Skordas, our legal analyst, disagreed with me on that. He thought the judge might have no choice but to give him something. Maybe it's home confinement at the Trump Hotel or the Trump Tower.
Debbie, you've covered a lot of trials, right? And you have a lot of experience with the legal proceedings, with juries. In your opinion, and I'm not asking you as an attorney, not going to hold you to this,
I'm not an attorney.
these jurors certainly would know, even though they were screened for a bias going in, they certainly have to understand the weight of their decision. And with the election coming, do you think that it could play into?
So. Yeah.
Really? Why?
I don't think we can. I don't think you can fully dismiss human emotions out of a jury room. I mean, we're not robots. We're humans. There may be some political leanings one way or the other that just they do their best not to. But I think they definitely feel a weight. And in fact, we saw that during jury selection. There were some jurors that I just visualized. They said, I can't do it, running from the courthouse. They didn't want to have anything to do with this trial for a number of reasons. Some just didn't like the guy. Others were, supporters of him. Others just didn't want the weight of this decision.
Yeah.
He's the first president in U.S. history to go on trial, and the stakes are extremely high for as much as we kind of like, oh, it's one of many trials. This is one of those trials where he could face a significant amount of time behind bars.
And if he were to become president again, he could not pardon himself from a conviction at the state level.
Taylor, that's great insight.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
I want to tell you about Master Electrical. Dave and I talk about Master Electrical all the time, and we're so honored to actually have met with the owner who just puts everything not only into the company but also into customer service. And Master Electrical does all things electrical. You've been talking for a long time to get things fixed up around your house. Your outlets need updating. The lighting in the ceiling is just no longer doing the job that you want it to do. You need better lighting in the kitchen. From generators to EV chargers, Master Electrical is your go-to, and I know you're going to love their upfront pricing guarantee. That's where they give you the price up front, and they do just what they say they do. That's the price they charge you when the job is done, and some jobs take a little bit longer. Well, with Master Electrical, they lean into that upfront pricing guarantee, so you know exactly what you're going to pay when the job is over. Master Electrical, proudly serving from Logan to Santaquin, and they're always open, including for emergency services. So give them a call, 801-543-2222, or check them out online, masterelectrical.com.
Dear class of 2024, you're donning caps and gowns just as things reach a tipping point. War overseas, protests, artificial intelligence.
It seems like a lot, but you're just the kind of people to build a new sense of hope. Congratulations, graduates. Make the world proud. And better. A message of hope for the future from your friends at KSL News Radio.
Put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always sing with me. So put your phone on D&D. That means that do not disturb when you're driving. And when you're going from point A to B, I need you to stay safe, please, so always remember this beat.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
At Tropical Smoothie Cafe, summer is our season. And we're kicking it off with a free 12-ounce Island Punch smoothie for National Flip-Flop Day. Grab your flip-flops and head to your local cafe on May 29th from 2 to 7 p.m. Terms and conditions apply.
Download the free Upside app to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card. Download the free Upside app now and use promo code GIFT for an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back on your first fill-up. That's promo code GIFT.
Looks like we're finally going to make that turn to warmer temperatures with 80s in the forecast. And if for you that means that you're going to be doing more things in the outdoors, maybe you're a golfer or if you just like to go out for a hike now and then, but you're afraid that those achy joints, knees, shoulders, hips, or maybe your back are going to keep you from doing the things you love, I've got great news for you. QC Kinetics has arrived in Utah, and we're talking about no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. They can help harness your own body's ability to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. So get out and play that game of golf. Take that hike, walk and run, and move again pain-free. They're offering free consultations right now, and you're going to find them in Mill Creek, in Provo, in Bountiful. They're offering free consultations, so stop putting it off. Take action now and live your best life again. Here's the number to call QC Kinetics, 385-766-1987. That's 385-766-1987. Call them today, 385-766-1987.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, the Chad Daybell murder case could go to the jury in Boise later today. Second, former President Trump says not even a saint could beat the charges filed against him in the hush money case. That jury deliberating now. Third, it was just 6 months ago that pandas had to leave the National Zoo in Washington. Now another pair is coming back. 77 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
It was just a few weeks ago, Taylor, that Dave and I were talking about this really tragic crash. A woman on a rented scooter riding in the downtown Salt Lake City area on West Temple. It was between like 4th and 5th South. And she hits like a major crack, a buckle in the sidewalk, and she ends up dying.
It's terrible. That crack had been there for years, and we're learning that residents had filed complaints about this crack with the city years ago, and nothing was done.
KSL5's investigative team, you guys started looking into this. Annie Knox, the investigative producer, and you speak to a man by the name of Adam Guyman, right? What does he tell you?
Adam told us that the main things he's feeling right now are anger and frustration. He said he tried to get the city to fix this a long time before a tragedy happened.
Here's part of your interview you did with Adam that aired on KSL5 TV.
Oof, that one looked like it hurt.
Yeah. A lot of sidewalks are broken. You know, there's bad curb cuts.
Maybe some
in places.
issues there with having a hard time hearing the audio. Let me. So Adam is in a wheelchair, and so he's having problems with this crack on the sidewalk. What about maybe a year and a half ago, and files a complaint.
I've actually almost tipped over before hitting that when I was going at full speed.
And he files a complaint with the city, Annie?
He files a complaint with the city, and this is back in October 2022. So this is like a year and a half ago. And he does not mince words. He calls it a neck breaker and a wheelchair breaker, that this crack, this buckle is so severe that he's worried somebody could die.
Wow. And it turns out, tragically, that happened. A 33-year-old mother of 5 died when she hit this crack on a rental scooter.
That's right. Ashley Rose Peck was on a rental scooter, and even though the city says you're not supposed to ride these scooters on the sidewalk, her family pointed out just after she died, a lot of people do. They might not feel safe, especially at night. We see a lot of people doing that.
Well, even if it's not a scooter, certainly Adam, who filed the complaint, saw this as an issue for his wheelchair. Certainly walking, jogging, just using a sidewalk really for any purpose, having a huge crack like that is a big problem.
Yeah, I was thinking, I mean, this man is trying to get over this crevice, this crack in the sidewalk with his wheelchair, and yet the city doesn't step in and fix it?
For him, it's an issue of not just fairness of being able to get around, just as well as anybody else, even though he's in a wheelchair, but a really big safety issue. He said there's times that he hits cracks across town and he almost topples out. And we got a hold of him because we found his complaint through a public records request. And we called him up and we said, Adam, we want to talk to you because somebody has actually died here and we know that you were trying to get this fixed.
Was he unaware that this mom had been killed, launched from her scooter on the same crevice that he was complaining about? Were you guys the ones that broke the news to him?
Unfortunately, yeah. And you could tell it was just really hard to hear.
Yeah. Annie, according to your work in KSL Investigates, according to this story, you have found 300 locations throughout the city where similar complaints have been filed?
In just a little over 2 years, yes.
Wow. What is being done? What is Salt Lake City, the mayor's office, how are they responding? What are they saying about this?
Well, we actually went and spot checked for ourselves, and we found that a lot of these spots across the city, they have marked in green spray paint, meaning this needs to get repaired. Okay. But only about 40 out of the 300 have been closed, have been repaired.
Do you have any indication of why it takes the city so long? I mean, in the case of this sidewalk on West Temple, it hadn't been fixed in a year and a half. I mean, is the city, does it not have the funds? Does it not want to spend the money? What sense did you get when you were investigating this?
Those are the questions we asked, and we weren't able to get any answers about, is it a funding issue? What else is going? Is there just so much on the city's plate? It feels like it can't get to this. Are there other priorities? The city did tell us that it is their job at the end of the day to keep sidewalks free of hazards. Yeah. And the list we got shows that this one spot was a top priority, but it was listed as a top priority and yet went a year and a half without a fix.
I guess I didn't even know there was a complaint process, Annie. So are people finding this complaint form on a website and then sending, hey, the sidewalk looks like, it's getting a huge crater in it. Somebody needs to come out and fix that. How that works?
Exactly. They do have a form on their website you can fill out. And when Adam did that, he actually got a response back from the city saying, hey, we've got your complaint. We have a repair cost-sharing program that we do with homeowners and business owners where we can all chip in to fix this. And this spot may get added to one of those programs, but there's limited funding. Know that it may take a few seasons to fix.
So you said something about cost sharing, but yet it sounds like the city is doing so. Who does ultimately pay the price for a problem sidewalk?
It depends. So they have a program with homeowners where they will cover half the cost for you. You can get reimbursed for half the cost, but that doesn't apply to businesses. Like in this case, the Sheraton, where this buckle was. Yeah. That was outside the Sheraton Hotel on West Temple. In that case, the city will cover the cost, will supply the labor if the business pays the rest of it.
So if I'm a homeowner in Salt Lake City and say I planted a tree years ago, it has a root growing under the sidewalk, it's lifting part of that sidewalk, I should contact the city and make arrangements to potentially share the cost of that repair. Because as a homeowner, potentially, am I liable for someone who might get hurt on that piece of sidewalk in front of my house, even though the city put the sidewalk down?
Absolutely. We talked to a personal injury attorney, and that's what he told us. He told us the homeowner, the property owner, and the city share liability. But really, at the end of the day, it's the city who has most of the responsibility here. It's a public pathway. They put it down, and it's their job to maintain it.
Yeah.
So does the woman who died, has her family reacted to the news that the investigative team uncovered that the city had a complaint sitting in its files that called this sidewalk a neck breaker a year and a half before she was killed?
Unfortunately, we weren't able to speak with her family for this story. But we know right after she passed away that, from our colleagues who interviewed family members, they said the city is pitching downtown as a pedestrian-friendly place, as a place where you can walk and bike safely. They're trying to invite people to come in, closing off streets, so this should be safe.
How does this have an impact, disproportionate impact perhaps on, those who rely on wheelchairs for transportation? How does this affect them?
Adam pointed out in our interview, he said this is an issue of safety for everybody across the city, even if you're just walking down the street and walking is really easy for you. For anybody who can't do that, for anybody who's in a wheelchair, a walker, someone with limited mobility, this is a huge safety issue.
Yeah.
Annie Knox, investigative producer, great work on this story. The fact that somebody died at the same spot where there had been a previous complaint filed about the sidewalk a year and a half before she was killed. It's really important work that y'all are doing at KSL5 TV and the investigative unit to uncover situations like this. You can read Annie's full report along with Daniela Rivera. She works with closely, investigative reporter there at ksltv.com. Annie, straight ahead, we're going to take live phone calls from our listeners. I have had issues, and I don't live in Salt Lake City, but in the past I have had issues in other cities I've lived in about complaints I've filed about problems in my city. And I can feel like, like the molasses is flowing uphill, guys. What's taken so long to get out here and get this thing fixed? And so it gets frustrating, Taylor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm reading here, according to Annie and Daniela's great story, there are a number of issues, Debbie, right outside of schools within Salt Lake City. Come on, Salt Lake City, what are we doing here? We have enough money to pay for a hockey stadium and give the mayor a $44,000 raise, apparently. Why can't we fix the sidewalks?
Annie, can you stick around for just a few moments and tell us what problems you found outside of schools? And we're going to also take live phone calls from our listeners. 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. Are you frustrated by an issue in your own neighborhood that the city is dragging its feet on? Come on, here's a chance for you to sound off next.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. Jurors are about to begin deliberating today on whether Chad Daybell is guilty on 3 counts of murder and several other charges. Here's KSL News Radio's Peter Johnston.
Daybell could get the death penalty if the jury convicts him of the murder charges, but he also faces several money-related counts of insurance fraud and theft. A February charging document shows Daybell is accused of helping Lori Vallow steal Social Security checks and file fraudulent insurance documents after allegedly knowing the kids were dead.
Lori Vallow Daybell was convicted on all 6 counts against her last May, including murder and fraud. The jury is now deliberating in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial. He's charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records to cover up an affair before the 2016 election. The Smithsonian's National Zoo announced 2 new giant pandas will be arriving from China later this year. These new pandas are about 3 years old, female Qingbo and male Bo Li. This comes just 6 months before or after the emotional farewell for the zoo's beloved giant pandas, Tiantian, Meishang, and their cub, who went back to China last November. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day now, 345 points, while the NASDAQ is down 55. And our KSL weather. The sun will give way to clouds this afternoon. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Do you have chirping smoke detectors? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you've ever experienced chirping smoke detectors, you already know how annoying it can be. A great first step to try and stop the chirping is to change the batteries. If the chirping continues, it's possible that your smoke detector has gone bad. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even realize that manufacturers recommend replacing the smoke detector altogether after 10 years. If you remove the smoke detector from the wall, on the back you should find a date of when it was made. Do a little math and you'll know how old it is. Now, Any Hour Services knows being a homeowner means you've got a list a mile long of things to do around the house, and check my electrical system probably isn't one of them. That's why we've put together this radio special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive inspection of your electrical system that includes testing those smoke detectors and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. Call Any Hour Services to schedule at 801-443-7300. 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy.
We don't always realize just how much our negative thoughts and experiences stick with us and weigh us down. You may find your brain constantly running through a highlight reel of bad moments. That comment your friend made last week that hurt your feelings, that frustrating thing your mom does, or that silly thing you said in a meeting. Maybe it's time to get it all off your chest. Whether it's a tiny annoyance or something much bigger, talking about it can give you some relief and lead you to a potential solution. That's where therapy comes in. It's a safe space to share whatever's weighing you down and learn to process it so your internal highlight reel can focus on the good stuff. And BetterHelp offers affordable online therapy on a schedule that works for you. Connect with a licensed therapist by text, phone, or video call. Start the process in minutes and switch therapists anytime. Let it out with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/abcradio today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/abcradio.
Derek Overstreet, founder of the New Millennium Group. We're a financial planning firm. Listen, we're fiduciaries. We have advisors standing by right now to take your call. That's 888-999-6370. 888-999-6370. The reason you're going to want to call is we're going to help you retire 3 to 5 years before you thought possible. Now, imagine how that would be if you could actually retire 3 to 5 years sooner than your plan was. The way we do this is by putting together a step-by-step plan, taking into consideration any rental properties that you have, any pension income that you have, your Social Security. Listen, we put that all together for you in writing. It will allow us to build your income based on inflation. You know, inflation has been rapidly rising. You and I both need a plan that whatever we start out our income at, in 5 or 10 years, we're going to need 40% more income. So if you're one of those people listening and you'd like a plan in writing, give us a call at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or go to utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Dino Day. Celebrate on June 1st at all Sinclair locations. And here's Ricky Meese.
Salt Lake City PD wrapping up an accident downtown at South Temple and 7th East on I-15. We have a crash northbound. This is near the point of the mountain. It is out of traffic on the shoulder. Another accident, I-15. This is by prior to 123rd South and Draper, but again, out of traffic. Need a perfect event venue? There's a place. This is the place, Heritage Park. Ideal for weddings, events, featuring 11 venues, beautiful grounds, affordability for any celebration. Call or visit thisistheplace.org. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
Mostly sunny this morning, and clouds move in this afternoon with a chance of rain. Partly cloudy, a little bit cooler tomorrow. And right now, 77 degrees, partly cloudy skies. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I think if cities are going to have a process and an online form for us to file a complaint about a broken sidewalk or something is wrong in the city, they better be more responsive than what the KSL 5 investigative team found about a broken sidewalk on West Temple between 4th and 5th South. A woman on a scooter, a rented scooter, hits that sidewalk and ends up dead. Scooter, throws her, and she hits her head, and she dies. Well, what the KSL 5 investigative team found is that a year and a half earlier, a man who is in a wheelchair and has hit that sidewalk in the past by the name of Adam Guyman filed a complaint with the city calling that area of West Temple a neck breaker.
I've actually almost tipped over before hitting that when I was going at full speed.
And for a year and a half, that sidewalk was not fixed. Taylor Morgan in today for Dave Noriega. What do you think of that? I think if there's going to be an online process for residents to file a complaint about something, then the city any city better be ready to take action.
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that this complaint had been filed a year and a half ago, Debbie, and given the circumstance of, this complaint, Adam, of course, had a specific issue with his wheelchair and with his crack. He tragically, he referred to this crack when he filed the complaint a year and a half ago as a neck breaker, and indeed, sadly, it was. The city took no action for you. And we, according to the excellent investigative reporting by Annie Knox and Daniela Rivera, 300 other locations throughout Salt Lake City right now, other complaints are still pending repair.
Annie Knox in studio with us. Expand on that. 300 complaints have gone in about, at least the ones that you found. These are all online complaints that people file?
You know, I am not sure if all of them were submitted online.
Some of them might be in person or something?
Yeah, but
Okay.
what we do know is the city has a record. We filed an open records request saying we'd like to know what complaints you've gotten and how far you've got in fixing them. So we did get this big, massive, data set back, 300 complaints across the city, all across the city, some on the east side, west side, north, south. And we were surprised at some of the locations where we found these open complaints that haven't been fixed despite being filed months ago.
Some of them in front of schools. Talk about that.
One in particular, one really uneven, unlevel sidewalk, a couple inches of a dip, is on the west side in Glendale on Navajo Street, and it's in front of two schools, an elementary school and a middle school there. And I think it was surprising to our team that a complaint had been filed at the beginning of the school year. We went in the springtime, at least as of 2 weeks ago when we last checked. It was marked in green, spray painted, ready for repair, but that hadn't been done yet.
Interesting. I'm looking here right now. I'm on the website for Salt Lake City, Debbie, slc.gov/my street. You can request a report. You can look at maps of ongoing projects and repairs. But again, like you said, what is the point of having this tool if the city doesn't follow up?
Annie, is there any indication that Adam Guyman, the man who filed the complaint about that specific location on West Temple that eventually looks like it resulted and contributed to the death of this mother, is there any indication that he got a response from the city when he filed that complaint? Or did he have any idea at all what the city was up to once he filed it?
He said he wasn't sure what happened from that point on, but they did write back an initial response to him saying, thank you for letting us know. This could be added to one of our programs. We have a cost-sharing program with homeowners. But given that, that there are budget constraints, it could take a few construction seasons.
Budget constraints, Debbie. What does that bring to mind?
Yeah. We know that the mayor and the city council might be in store for a 25% pay increase. I don't know what the cost of covering a sidewalk repair is, but for one family in the Salt Lake City area, it's priceless. They've lost their mom, who was killed when she was thrown from that scooter. And somebody who has tripped a couple of times while running, not in Salt Lake City, because I don't run in Salt Lake City. I've run in cities that I live in. I haven't sustained any serious injuries, but at one point I tripped on a sidewalk that had a tree root problem. It was growing underneath of it, and it thrust me into the middle of the street because of my momentum. I'm a speedy runner, Annie. I know you know that. No, I'm actually quite slow, but the momentum of, just thrust me into the street. This can be dangerous. What is the city saying to the investigative team about this?
Not much. They told us that, basically they offered their condolences to the family of Ashley Peck who died. They said it's on them at the end of the day to keep these sidewalks free of hazards. But other than that limited response that they gave us, they didn't provide much insight.
Are you looking at any follow-up investigations at this point to see if the city, for example, actually gets out there and repairs these spots?
I think we will. I think it's important to people, and I think our investigation has raised some questions for people about whether this is a priority. It's one of the most basic functions of a city, right?
Yeah.
Sidewalks,
And
being
safety.
able to walk down.
I've always thought if the government does one thing, it needs to do its best to keep citizens safe. And just remind us what you found in terms of whose responsibility it is, because I've always been, as a homeowner, confused about that. Like, if something goes wrong with the sidewalk in front of my house, is it my job to get out there and shovel up the concrete and lay down new concrete? But what did you guys learn about that?
We weren't able to get as clear as we wanted ourselves, and I think it's because the law here is tricky. We talked to a personal injury attorney, Bob Sykes, and he has represented people who have fallen and been injured in a lot of these cases, and he said both bear responsibility, the landowner and the city, but the city shoulders a little bit more. It's their sidewalk.
And it's their complaint system, too, right?
That's true.
I mean, we've got Adam who rightfully filed that complaint. He couldn't get over that sidewalk safely in his wheelchair, and he said that it was a neck breaker, and he told them that in, October of 2022, right? And a year and a half later. Ashley hits that with her rented scooter and ends up being pronounced dead. And her family, in fact, said she didn't have much time when she hit her head. Such a sad story.
Yeah.
Annie, great work at the KSL5 investigative team. You can see more on Annie's and Daniela's reporting at KSLTV.com. What's your expectation? I'm thinking, Taylor, a couple of months is realistic, but a year and a half? Are these complaints just rotting?
I'd say a couple weeks, Debbie, because listen, potholes, I think, can go for longer than that, and often they do, and we all get frustrated by that.
We ruin our
when we're
cars
driving.
on potholes.
That's exactly right. But a sidewalk is something very different, right? A sidewalk is absolutely fundamental to pedestrian safety, especially to someone like Adam Guyman, who is in a wheelchair and needs a sidewalk in order just to get around.
And I look at all the improvements, that might be air quotes for some improvements that the city, Salt Lake City in particular, has done to make it more walkable in this city.
There's
now
been
we have
such a priority.
Bike lanes everywhere.
There's been such a focus on making Salt Lake City a pedestrian safe city, yet we're not fixing our sidewalks.
And scooters are for rent. You can just pick one up at the corner. You
Everywhere.
can put money, I guess, through an app and all that. But the idea, and you're supposed to ride those on the street, not the sidewalk. Look, it's not always possible to ride them on the street.
That's true.
And I think this is even more reason why, if you want to encourage people to use other forms of transportation besides their gas-guzzling cars to park in parking spots that aren't available most of the time in downtown because there's just clusters of cars and people trying to park there, then you better be spending more time getting these issues fixed and not just have an online complaints. I'd call it the complaint system to nowhere.
Yeah.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Say hello to For You Banking from Zions Bank. Customized banking that's all about you and the way you bank. Like credit cards. Experience For You Banking today at a Zions Bank branch or visit zionsbank.com/4u to learn more. Credit card accounts are subject to credit approval. Certain terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. See the Consumer Credit Card Agreement and Disclosure Statement for more details. Offers are available for new credit card accounts only and subject to change at any time. A division of Zions Bank Corporation, N.A. member FDIC.
It's Dino Day at all Sinclair locations Saturday, June 1st. Fuel up, saving up to 30 cents per gallon on Sinclair's top-tier premium-grade fuel using Dino Pay. Come early and grab some Dino swag. Remember, Saturday, June 1st at all Sinclair locations.
Love the filler moments at a Sinclair gas station near you with Dino Care, our top-tier gasoline for a cleaner engine. Some sweet and salty snacks for the commute, and a big green Dino for the memories. Find a gas station near you at sinclairoil.com.
Discover the best of senior living at Trio Orem and Trio South Ogden. Today's older adults aren't wrapping up their life's journey, they're seeking a new one. And Trio Independent Living is here to help them do just that. With a smart, modern, and connected lifestyle, residents cultivate relationships and maximize independence through signature programs like Prime Fit Wellness that bring living well and well-being to life. Welcome to the new age of senior living. Schedule your visit at leisurecare.com/Utah today.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I had tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I receive at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back, I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
I'm Eric Ramos, healthcare provider at Revive Men's Health. If you are always feeling tired or moody, have a difficult time sleeping, or decreased libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam at Revive Men's Health, Salt Lake City. Call 801-263-7777. That's 801-263-7777. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
You need to meet my aunt.
Her name is Rochelle Morris, and she's running for Salt Lake County Council. She's super smart, and she really cares about people. She wants Salt Lake County to be a great place for kids. That means safe parks, safe streets, good rec centers, and making sure taxes go down instead of up. Go to voterochellemorris.com to learn more.
Thanks, Zoe and Tilly. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I'm running to make Salt Lake County work better for all of us. With my background in managing money in the private sector, I'm committed to cutting waste, holding the county accountable, and maximizing and protecting your tax dollars for you. Together, we can ensure Salt Lake County is a great place to live for many years to come. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I approve this message. Learn more at voterochellemorris.com.
That's voterochellemorris.com.
Paid for by Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council.
If you've got a honey-do list with electrical, plumbing, heating, or air conditioning projects on it, Any Hour Services can help. Call Any Hour Services, electrical, plumbing, heating, and air. anyhourservices.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Cafe Rio is a Utah-based Mexican restaurant with over 50 locations across the state and headquarters in the Brickyard area of Salt Lake City. President and CEO Steve Vaughn joins us with more.
Cafe Rio was created in St. George, Utah in 1997 by Steve Stanley, a classically trained French chef. 27 years later, we continue to serve the fresh, modern Mexican recipes Steve conceived when he spent the earlier part of his career in the Rio Grande Valley. At Cafe Rio, our mission is to create opportunities and change the lives of everyone we serve, including our team members. One of my favorite stories involves one of our multi-unit supervisors who started her career at Cafe Rio as a cashier. She now oversees 6 locations and recently purchased her own home with the help of an incentive program we have for our management team. We are proud to be a Utah company, and we believe we are making a positive impact on the lives of our 5,000 team members in Utah and across the 10 other states where we do business.
In addition to providing fast, easy-to-order meal options, Cafe Rio also offers catering services for parties, events, business meetings, and more. To learn more, visit their website. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the jury in the Chad Daybell murder case could begin its deliberation this afternoon. Second, the jury already deliberating in the hush money case against former President Donald Trump. And third, Salt Lake City police say the suspect in a murder case yesterday called 911 himself to report the crime. 77 degrees, partly cloudy in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Right on the money. Special coverage with Dave and Dujanovic.
Inflation is so out of control that there's a group of Americans who have all jumped on the same website, Taylor, to come up with ways to save money. And they're doing it through what they call this no-buy challenge. I'm going to get to that in just a moment. But if you just look at what's costing us more compared to, we'll go back to 2020. Everything. Prices have gone up 21% across the board since 2020. Groceries cost more. Gas has gone up. Rent has gone through the roof. If you want to buy a home, good luck. Your mortgage is going to be about, $4,000, maybe more a month, because interest rates have doubled. So when we see that Washington, D.C. isn't doing a great job reducing prices, we take things into our own hands. And people are doing this through cutting what they're spending money on.
Yeah.
That's it. They're taking this no-buy challenge. What have you noticed with your own family budget?
Well, certainly inflation has affected our budget. We have to be smart and make choices about, what we buy, how much of it we buy. I think that, inflation is going to affect everyone in different ways, right?
Mm.
Really overspending, I think, is a huge driver of the inflation that we've had, right? Even, during COVID, we saw inflation really running rampant, yet we had a lot of COVID relief money flowing into people's bank accounts and pockets. People kept spending that money and kept spending that money. Prices have continued to rise. And yeah, a lot of people have had a hard time cutting back spending to align with their budget. Credit card debt has grown. Interest rates are up. It's certainly an issue, Debbie. However, I have to say that spending is key to our economic strength.
Well,
right? And that spending during COVID that contributed to inflation, kept a lot of people in jobs by keeping the economy going.
So let me just give you specifics on my budget. Insurance, my auto insurance went up by $300 a year in the last couple of years. My homeowner's insurance also went up. The doggone cat litter I buy for the most amazing rescue cat that we adopted a few years ago when a friend of mine passed away. That's gone up a couple of bucks, and you may think that's crazy funny, but honestly, it drives me wild when I have to spend an extra $2 a batch on gravel.
Yeah.
Come on. Gravel that I can hardly even lift into my grocery cart. But that's gone up. Just about everything at the grocery store has gone up in price. I mean, at one point, and I don't eat a lot of butter, but I literally banned butter from my house because it was like $6 for a 4-pack of butter. Soda, thank goodness I cut that mostly out of my diet. But as I'm walking by, to check out at Smith's there in the Daybreak area, you got to walk right by the soda area. You got to, in fact, the line like spills into the soda department. Well planned, Smiths. Good job. I see families, loading up because they're going out of town for the weekend.
Sure, yeah.
And it's expensive.
It is.
It's expensive. It used to be $1.50 for a 6-pack of diet whatever, and now it's like double or triple that.
Yeah.
Everything has gone up in price, and I think, well, this no spend, ha ha ha. But actually, I've kind of done it on my own. Like I don't buy soda anymore, or at least not the volume that I used to. I mean, soda was kind of like I'll just throw that in because Diet Dr. Pepper once in a while feels like a way to have a little bit of a sweet treat instead of eating an entire chocolate cake. But here's what they're doing.
Hold on.
Yeah.
An entire chocolate cake or a Diet Dr. Pepper. That's kind of a choice there, Debbie.
I don't eat cake, but when I eat cake,
go for the whole.
I need 2 or 3
Are we talking a
pieces of
Costco sheet cake?
Yeah. Or Hershey Kisses. So I'm just looking at this article on Reddit, and they've gone with this no spend challenge, and what they've telling folks to do is just avoid spending. Figure out where your weaknesses are. Make your rules. Just take a pause on spending. So if your weaknesses are you like to run to the mall once in a while, stay out of the mall.
Who goes to the mall?
A lot of people go to the mall. I literally could not find a parking spot
Really?
at the doggone mall out in Riverton the other night.
Oh,
y'all are supposed to be camping in the forest for Memorial Day weekend. I'm the only one that's doing the staycation. And no, y'all are at the mall. It was a Friday night. We couldn't find a parking spot at the mall. Actually, we ended up getting a front row spot. But that's because we were hovering.
Yeah.
So what would you give up if you were taking part of this challenge?
Ooh, this soda is interesting to me because we have stacks of canned soda at home in my garage. I don't know if you've tried the new Sprite Chill zero sugar flavor. Not to put a plug in, not a sponsor, but it's delicious, Debbie. We stocked up on that. I think I could maybe do a better job of using one of my wife's 53 Stanley mugs to fill up at the fountain at the gas station instead of using cans. That would save some money. That would be cutting back, right?
I do that with water. I no longer buy bottled water. I have bottled water for emergency only in my home, and I have a 6-pack in my car. And I think that's going to save me if I get caught in 120-degree weather somewhere. You know, I've got a 6-pack of bottled water in my car.
Yeah.
But here's some of the things that people are doing. They've stopped buying coffee. You don't need as many coffee runs to $5. It's now $7. You know, I mean, love Starbucks. It is my go-to, but I've had to cut that out. I make it at home now more and more.
Yeah.
Cut out fast food. Fast food is starting to feel more and more like a luxury.
Yeah. I should cut out DoorDash. I DoorDash too often, Debbie.
I'd never DoorDash.
I DoorDash at least twice a week.
I cannot think of a time. I don't even know how to use. Is there an app for that?
Debbie.
I get in my car.
It's the DoorDash app.
And I drive 3 blocks to pick up food. In fact, I make more and more food at home.
Well, but I buy groceries that are crazy expensive, and then I don't use them all, and they go bad, and I feel like I'm wasting more money that way.
I want to know if women can cut out makeup. Makeup is unrealistically expensive. I went to look for a product, CoverGirl. You don't know it well. We do, and it is kind of like the grocery store brand, although that's all we used in the 80s, ladies, right? I mean, that's all we used was CoverGirl and Maybelline.
I last 30 seconds in a Sephora before I get a headache.
$24. They wanted $24 for this tiny bottle of tint foundation. $24 the other night. You know what I said? I'm going without.
Outrageous.
I'm going out without. I don't care what our listeners, how they see me on YouTube when they're watching. I'm going without. Once it runs out, it's done. $24. I love the Sephora allergy analogy. I wish I developed allergies.
It's potent
when I
in there,
walked
Debbie.
that
It's
store.
pretty strong.
Shoes? Could you give up shoes?
Oh, Debbie, no.
You got to give up new shoes.
Debbie, I never mind. I'm going to hold back on saying how many pairs
Hair
of
products.
Jordan Lows I have.
You got a good do there. Could you give up hair products? What do you use in your hair?
I get it on Amazon. It's cheap.
Use gel.
I hardly use any of it.
Use hair gel. Give it up. Give it up. So these are some of the ways that folks are saving money. And what really ultimately needs to happen is we do need to get better about watching our budget, not buying extra stuff, not overspending. We've become a society of consumers.
Debbie, this is America. Overspending
Well, that's what
drives our economy.
That's what the corporations want us to do, and that's what they want us to believe. But ultimately, what really does need to happen is that Washington has got to figure out a way to slow inflation. They say, we've done that, but you haven't really. Inflation has just been out of control for far too long. Maria has a development with the Utah Education Association and the school voucher program. She's going to update us on next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.